My
If I
advice
become
from the
a
beginning
is
I particularly liked reading about ancient Persia. And so like, from a ridiculously young age, so 13, 14, I was just something I loved reading about. And so it kind of just made sense to go do a degree where I could study that.
Ancient modern history gives you the chance to see so much of change over time and then what's still the same. So when you learn about politics in classical Athens or in the British Empire, it's a good point of comparison.
I don't think of ancient and modern history as a joint course. I think it's just a continuum.
This course picks up exactly on this need to see history as one thing to study where there isn't a serious break between ancient and modern.
The only restraints on ancient and modern historians are that they have to do roughly at least 1/3 on one side, the ancient side, 2/3 on the modern side, or 1/3 modern, 2/3 ancient. And they can do anywhere in between those two. And commonly students do about half and half.
I think next year I'm going to study a lot of ancient Greek history, but then also a global history paper in the 19th century.
The best paper that you get to really make the most of doing ancient and modern history is something called Disciplines, which is notoriously challenging for everyone who does history, but it's the only mandatory paper that everyone takes for finals.
Our students can also take up beginning Latin or Greek, or continue with Latin or Greek if they've had it in school. So that's an option, but the emphasis is not so much, as it is in classics, on the language and the literature.
There are certain foundational skills in reading and interpreting and in analysing texts which are really important for ancient and modern historians. But it's also important for ancient and modern historians to be interested in material culture, in archaeology, because what you get out of the earth is also absolutely essential.
My week is dominated by whatever essays I have to write for the week. So typically I have to write 3 essays in a fortnight.
There's a lot of engagement with these texts, a lot of hard work by yourself thinking about them. But then you get help from lectures and from tutorials where you discuss this and your understanding can be enhanced. All students write a thesis on a topic that they themselves have thought up, and nearly always we can match them up to someone who's a world expert.
Every student from the beginning will be aware that you make your choices and you design your course.
It adds a comparative dimension, adds an extra element for seeing the diversity of historical experience.
You're doing ancient history, which is basically run through classics tutors, and history. They all seem to be friends, so they very rarely double your workload or anything like that.
Ancient history contains something for everybody, whatever you happen to be interested in. If you're interested in gender history or the history of cooking, there'll be something there for you.
I also do Arabic as an optional thing, and so I'm hoping maybe to wear that into my degree, maybe do some sort of Arabic history or Middle Eastern history. But that's been a purely on-the-side thing. I did it from scratch.
The problem about history is there's far too much of it. And in a 3-year undergraduate course, you can only get through a tiny segment of what happened in the past. And in ancient and modern history, you have all this choice ranging over millennia. Oxford has the largest history and classics faculties, certainly in the UK, possibly in the world.
So the best facilities are going to be the libraries, particularly for a historian. You're going to have to read sort of 25, 30 books a week, and so the libraries are really crucial.
We're looking to find, obviously, academically excellent students, but also ones with specific commitment to history, and in the case of ancient to modern history, with interests in the ancient world and in the modern world, or the post-ancient world.
I've got a great number of students who study ancient modern history and came to us and applied without having done any ancient history.
My advice to students thinking of applying to ancient to modern history is to read as much as you can. The more you know, even if you haven't studied it formally at school, the more you'll have to talk about, and the more we'll be able to see what's really sparking you off.
What we look out for in the admissions interview is really analytical skills and being able to read carefully.
It's a give and take process. It's very like a tutorial. So if you can enjoy it, no matter how scared you are, you're more likely to enjoy the tutorials themselves when you get there, because if you can't have that kind of conversation or find some enjoyment out of it, you're probably not going to like having to do it twice a week.
In deciding which course to apply for, the really key criterion is your interest, what you want to spend all day, all week, all term studying, term after term.
There'd been snow and the postman had been delayed for 3 days, and I started standing at the top of my hill waiting for the postman, and eventually it arrived on Christmas Eve. So it was a big day.
Yeah, it was a great Christmas present.
Historians go on to an enormous range of jobs. I can't even start to list them. They have a general flexible education which will fit them to do a number of different things, and indeed to change tack through their lives.
Just a small proportion of students go on to do graduate work in either ancient or modern history.
I don't really have any solid career plans. I just want to enjoy my time here, but maybe one option I'm looking at is maybe going into the Church of England and maybe becoming a vicar.
Some become lawyers, law conversion courses, some go into the city for banking, some work as journalists.
I think all of us are fairly confident that actually this kind of degree gives us a lot of options, and you've got the chance to do sort of whatever you want to do, really.
In choosing a course, you need to decide where your primary interests lie. If you really want to study the ancient world, then you're better off studying classics if you have the languages or want to start the languages, or classical archaeology and ancient history if you want to do the archaeology and history of the ancient world. But if you want to do a wider range of things, and you want to do the post-ancient world as well, and do a lot of comparative work between ancient and modern history, then ancient and modern history is definitely the course for you.